Hey, what is going on YouTube? Mike here from Team VRY. And so with the recent announcement of the shutdown of online services for the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U, I thought that it would be fun to take a look back at one of my most favorite Nintendo systems ever, the Nintendo 2DS. Now, the 2DS was one of the more interesting devices in Nintendo's hardware lineup, and I just want to share with you guys some of my thoughts on this device and why it's one of my personal favorite gaming devices ever. And yeah, let's get started. Now, as someone who's owned a ton of different Nintendo portable devices, the 3DS seemed like a natural evolution of the Game Boy Advance SP and the Nintendo DS, which came after it. As a matter of fact, I did own the first generation 3DS as well as the first generation 3DS XL, and when the 2DS first came out, it did feature this unconventional wedge-shaped form factor, which I think when taken at face value is understandably less appealing compared to the mainline 3DS devices. With that said, however, I did end up liking the 2DS way more than the 3DS and the 3DS XL. Sure, it didn't have 3D, but that was pretty much the entire point of the system. But on the upside, you did get full compatibility with a ton of different DS and 3DS titles. It did have a more durable form factor thanks to the lack of a hinge. And for my large hands, it did feel a lot more comfortable in general. It really reminded me a lot of the original Game Boy Advance, which is another personal favorite of mine. And yeah, overall, I do think that it's an underappreciated Nintendo handheld, especially when compared to the flagship Nintendo portables at the time. But yeah, as I mentioned, its biggest advantages was the relatively affordable access to Nintendo's wide library of software. Now, there are hundreds of Nintendo DS and 3DS titles out there, and for a small price, you can get access to them as well as older Nintendo titles thanks to the Virtual Console feature. And for a lot of people that didn't really care about the 3D function, it was a more practical choice. Now, I did enjoy the 3D function on the 3DS, but I wasn't really one to use it every day. I'd maybe use it every once in a while just for the novelty of it, but overall, I did play my games in the regular 2D mode. And yeah, aside from the lack of a folding form factor, the 2DS was pretty much 95% of the same hardware that you'd get on the regular 3DS. It also had wireless connectivity, Spot Pass, Street Pass, and all the pre-installed software that came with the regular 3DS. Speaking from experience, I also think that it performed a bit better when it came to battery endurance. I did notice that the battery on my 3DS drained a bit faster. Now, of course, this isn't a scientific comparison between both handhelds, but so far I've gotten a bit more playtime out of the 2DS compared to the first generation 3DS. Now, of course, when compared to the 3DS XL, the 2DS had much smaller screens, a smaller battery, but again, I was all about that portability and durability, and for that, the 2DS met my needs. Now, am I still playing with it? Yes, occasionally I do revisit some of my favorite games on the system, and if you were to pick one nowadays, I would say that it's still worth it. You can probably find one cheap secondhand, and again, for a relatively low price, you get access to a ton of different DS and 3DS software. Of course, with the eShop being down, you will have to buy physical copies of your games, unless of course you're willing to hack the 2DS and install a custom firmware on it, which is another story for another time. But yeah, overall, it's a solid system, and the secondhand market online is just flooded with a large selection of software from Nintendo and third parties. And yeah, if you're looking for a cheap and practical approach to playing Nintendo's library of games, then the 2DS is a pretty good choice. Alright guys, so that does it for this quick video. We do have a lot more content here on Team VRY, so feel free to check out our other videos here as well. If you like this one, don't forget to click that subscribe button. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.